I knew something was going to snap the moment I saw Colby's reflection in the glass. Arms folded, smug grin, standing behind me like a kid who just broke a toy he didn't understand. I was triple checking the missile payload diagnostic logs when he said it. Real casual, like he was asking about lunch. "You're not planning on missing tonight, are you?" I didn't turn around. I just said, "It's my daughter's graduation." He scoffed like I'd told him I was skipping out for a hair appointment. "Yeah, no, not gonna work. Shift coverage is tight. Your critical path, remember?" That word. Critical. That was rich, coming from someone who didn't know the difference between a parody bit and a plasma cutter. I'd built half the authentication chain this company's contract stood on, sat through so many federal compliance drills I could quote the entire 7C clause in my sleep. And this child in a button-down, who got his job because his dad was scared of losing him to crypto or YouTube or whatever empty cliff he was about to jump off next, was telling me I was critical. But not critical enough to leave for one night to watch my baby girl walk the stage? By the way, quick break. If you're hearing this and you've ever picked your kid over a paycheck or just appreciated someone who did, hit the like button and subscribe. 97% of y'all listen, but never follow, and trust me, it keeps our team fired up to tell more of these stories. Anyway, I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded, finished the log, and packed up my badge. The truth is, I'd worked 9 years without ever asking for anything. Never missed a shift. Never took a real vacation. When my mom passed, I handled her funeral arrangements via Bluetooth headset from the locker room between system reboots. I stayed when other women left. I trained the junior guys, wrote their SOPs, even took the fall when the calibration team tanked a torque reading in 21. HR knew. Engineering knew. Even the feds knew. My name was stamped on the contract under lead technical authority. Colby? He didn't even know what that meant. But my daughter did. She knew her mom worked in a secured building with no phones allowed and classified clients. She didn't know I missed her first dance recital because of an aftershock on the floor. Or that the reason I never chaperoned a field trip was because my biometric key was bound to a diagnostic vault with a 72-hour cooldown. She just knew I'd never been there, and she invited me anyway. So that night, I wore heels I hadn't touched since the Christmas party of 2016. I curled my hair, and I walked past Colby on the main floor as he barked into his phone, trying to look busy in front of no one. He saw me. He actually laughed, one of those nasal, fake chuckles that rich kids think makes them intimidating. "If you skip this shift for your kid," he said, loud and clear, "don't bother coming back." I didn't even stop walking. I sat next to my daughter in the third row, held her trembling hand, and watched her name echo off the auditorium walls. She smiled through her braces and shook the principal's hand like she was born for it. And for the first time in almost a decade, I didn't feel like a liability to something bigger. I just felt like a mom doing the damn right thing. And I knew, in that exact moment, that Colby had no idea what he'd just triggered. The request was so simple, it should have been a formality. Swap the Wednesday night shift with Mason, one of the newer techs. He'd shadowed me for months. The guy could run diagnostics in his sleep, and the load that night was light. 2 stability tests, a reboot of the level 4 node, and a routine passcode refresh. Nothing explosive. Nothing delicate. Hell, the plant had been through worse with half the team down during flu season. I sent the formal request 3 weeks in advance. Wrote it up clean, flagged it with no expected downtime, and temporary credential loan authorized by systems lead. Even attached a little note at the bottom, my daughter's high school graduation. I'd like to be there. First time I'd ever asked for a shift swap in 9 years. Colby replied 7 hours later from his iPhone, with no greeting, no sign-off, just one sentence. "You're not that essential." I stared at the screen for a good minute, wondering if it was a mistake. A joke. I even checked to see if it was his real number. It was. At first, I didn't even feel anger, just something low and cold curling in my chest, like something familiar I hadn't felt in years. That old voice from my first few months in tech when they said I wasn't leadership material, when a contractor once asked me to get the engineer while I was wearing the engineer's badge. I took a breath. Walked down to the office of Ron Tillman, our systems manager. Ron was old school, the kind of guy who read every policy change twice before approving it, kept all the master SOPs printed and laminated in his file drawer like it was still 2002. He knew what my role meant, knew how the compliance layers stacked. When I told him what Colby wrote, he blinked twice and just muttered, "Jesus." He tried. I'll give him that. Walked right into Colby's office and closed the door. The blinds didn't block much. I saw Colby lean back in his chair like he was on a podcast, arms behind his head, smirking like this was all beneath him. I saw Ron's hands gesturing, tapping the folder, even pointing at my name. But Colby never even looked down. 15 minutes later, Ron came out shaking his head. He says we'll manage, that it's just a shift. Just a shift. Never mind that the diagnostics node was locked to a triple auth protocol only I had clearance to override. Never mind that the last time someone bypassed the biosensors without agency pre-clearance, we got slapped with a 25K audit and nearly lost a quarter's worth of milestone credits. Never mind that my name was printed on the contract next to the clause labeled non-substitutable technical personnel, written in bold capital letters. No. To Colby, I was just some woman clocking in on midnight runs, blending into the walls. Not a pillar, not a name, just a shift. So I left it alone. I didn't plead, didn't argue. I filed the original request away and printed a copy for my records. Because if you're going to pull a thread, you better know what it's holding up. And Colby? He just yanked at it like it was loose lint on his dad's golf shirt. He didn't know what he'd just put into motion. And I wasn't about to stop it. The heels clicked louder than usual on the concrete. My badge still buzzed me through the east door at 7:14 p.m. sharp, just like every other night for the last 9 years. I wasn't in uniform. I wasn't even carrying my toolkit. Just a black coat over a burgundy dress and the box with her name stitched in gold foil. The gift I'd been saving since the first time she called me mama, with a toothy grin and 2 pigtails. I was on my way out. That was the plan. Walk in, grab my things from the locker, leave my access token with the compliance folder I'd pre-packed, and head straight to the auditorium. But Colby had other plans. He was standing near the dry transfer bay with a tablet in one hand and a Red Bull in the other, trying way too hard to look busy. He saw me coming and lit up like a Christmas tree wired wrong, raised his voice immediately, like he'd been rehearsing this all day just to land the line. "Well, look who showed up for a farewell tour," he shouted, loud enough to draw a few heads from diagnostics. "You really walking out on the biggest clearance load of the month to clap at a diploma?" I didn't stop moving. Just kept heading for the locker corridor, but of course, he followed. "You skip this shift for your kid," he snapped. "Don't bother coming back." He said it like a punishment, like he thought it would cut deep. Maybe it would have, 5 years ago. Maybe back when I still thought doing everything right guaranteed you a little grace when it mattered. I turned my head just enough to look at him. One nod, no smile, no reply. And then I walked. Past the line loaders, past the vibration bays. Past the girl at check-in who bit her lip when she saw me but said nothing. Past the badge gate one final time where the scanner blinked green and let me through without resistance. And then I drove. Parked 3 blocks from the school because the lot was full. Power walked in those damn heels because I was late. Slipped into the folding chair just in time to hear her name echo off the gym walls. She didn't see me at first, but when she did, when her eyes landed on mine across that crowd of phones and flashing cameras, she lit up like she'd just won the damn lottery. Gave me that same grin from when she was 7 and had ketchup on her chin and thought I was the smartest woman on earth. The principal handed her the diploma. She turned, stepped down, and walked straight into her future. And I was there. Finally. No plant, no audit, no blinking diagnostic warning dragging me away this time. I don't know what Colby expected, that I'd come crawling back maybe, or that HR would step in and soften the blow. But I didn't crawl. I didn't email. I didn't make a scene. I chose her. And when I looked down at the gold-stamped name on that box in my lap, I knew I'd done the only thing that mattered. He could keep the plant. I had my daughter, and I had time. The next morning, my desk sat untouched. My terminal stayed dark. The chair was still pulled halfway out, like I might stroll in late and apologize with a coffee in hand, but I didn't. I was across town, eating a real breakfast with my daughter, watching her unwrap the bracelet I'd tucked in that gift box and listening to her plans for the summer. First time I'd had eggs without a security badge around my neck in over a decade. At the plant, though, things started creaking, not breaking, not yet. but creaking in that quiet, wrong kind of way where everyone pretends things are fine because they're too scared to ask the real questions. Colby strutted through the day like nothing had happened, even made some dumb joke in the staff chat about cutting dead weight. But then the diagnostics node threw a flag, not because something failed, but because something was missing. Me. Turns out you can't just rip the lead out of a system built on layered authentication. Not when the entire security chain is stacked like a game of Jenga and the base brick is your biometric token. Not when the contract explicitly names one, and only one person as lead technical authority for that specific defense subsystem. Clause 7C. Legal didn't even notice it at first. HR flagged my absence as voluntary abandonment and called it done. But when the federal compliance dashboard failed to validate its weekly continuity log, someone in compliance tried to backfill the paperwork. Quietly. A name swap. A temp assignment. That's when legal took a look. Clause 7C. Lead technical authority designated personnel shall not be reassigned, removed, or replaced without prior client notification and written authorization from the Department of Tactical Systems. Breach of this condition will trigger automatic suspension of contract execution and site-level audit protocol. Colby had done it. Loud, public, and on camera, in front of 3 other engineers, the compliance tech, and a hallway microphone still linked to the internal recording loop. He hadn't just broken a rule, he'd invalidated the contract. By day 2, legal was in full scramble mode. I wasn't answering emails. I wasn't on site. My access token hadn't pinged since the moment I'd walked out. The compliance officer started pulling logs and found the folder I'd left behind in my locker. Time-stamped, notarized, even signed with a final status change, personal leave of absence pending HR review. Not a resignation, not abandonment, just a pause, which meant Colby's words, "Don't bother coming back," constituted a formal termination, without process, without documentation, and most importantly, without client approval. Internal counsel tried to contain it. Hushed meetings, backdated forms, emergency calls to the contracting officer on record. But it was too late. The department had already been alerted automatically by the missing continuity signature. Silence from me. Just silence. And that silence grew louder by the hour. Nobody knew where I was. No social posts, no updates, not even a LinkedIn change. Just the echo of a clause they'd never bothered to read, and a chair that stayed empty, while the countdown to audit began. It started with a glitch, or what they thought was a glitch. Late Thursday night, one of the junior engineers, Marcos, I think, tried to log into the diagnostics node to prep for the next payload test. Standard access tree, username, passcode, clearance tag. But when he reached the final credential layer, the screen went red. Not just red, but that deep warning crimson you only ever see during an integrity breach. Authorization denied. Primary token unavailable. He tried again. Same result. He called his supervisor, who called Colby, who stomped into the floor like a man late to his own birthday party. One glance at the screen and he did what he always did, barked at people who knew more than him. Reset it, get it to override the chain. Except they couldn't. That's when the panic stopped pretending it was something else. What Colby didn't know, what no one but compliance and legal had ever truly internalized, was that the final layer of our diagnostic security wasn't just a code or a key card, it was me. Specifically, my physical biometric token, a dual auth thumb drive with live motion verification, encrypted heartbeat pattern recognition, and one single location recognition tether tied to a clearance zone, and I still had it. Not stored in the system, not cloud-bound, not recoverable by any admin on site. It had been assigned to me by the Department of Tactical Systems under Protocol 19B, full non-replication, non-transferable credential binding. In short, without me, the system stayed sealed. Colby tried everything, called IT, called the third-party contractor who helped design the node, even tried escalating to the director of engineering, who reminded him, flatly, that I was the architect of the security structure, and even he didn't have the ability to brute force it open without tripping audit protocols. Desperate now, Colby ordered my locker opened. Said maybe I left the token behind. I hadn't, but I had left something else. Taped inside the door was a sealed envelope. Not addressed to him, not to HR, just one name. Meredith Langston, our lead compliance officer. She opened it with shaky hands. Inside was a short note in my handwriting, signed and dated the day before graduation. If this ever gets used without me, call the agency. No theatrics, no accusation, just a line. Meredith looked at the system screen still flashing red, the junior staff buzzing around like hornets, and she picked up the phone. Not the office phone, not her personal cell. She used the red handset, the one marked Federal Contact, DTS, and she made the call. Colby's face, I'm told, drained clean of color when she walked past him without a word, because in that one moment, the building stopped being his. It became evidence. The search wasn't for me anymore. It was for answers. And protocol. And accountability. And none of them were inside that plant. The call came in just after 9 a.m. Friday morning. No warning, no agenda, just a calendar notification that said, DDS, urgent contract review, mandatory attendance. Legal logged in first, looking pale. Compliance followed. Colby didn't even bother wearing a tie, still thought this was something he could smooth over with charm and buzzwords. He slid into the chair at the head of the conference room table, leaned back like he was ready to sell them a webinar, and flashed that same smirk he wore when he told me I wasn't essential. The screen lit up. 4 federal faces. No small talk. The first one to speak was a man I'd met once during a systems hardening review. Name was Agent Holder, Department of Tactical Systems. Voice like drywall and winter. We've reviewed the footage, he said flatly. Camera 3, Bay Corridor, June 8th, 7:21 p.m. Someone on our side tried to chime in, probably legal, but Holder raised a hand. No clarification required. It's not a debate. We have audio. Then he read it. Clause 7C, slowly, clearly, like he was speaking to a room full of children. Lead technical authority, named personnel, may not be reassigned, removed, or terminated without prior written client approval. Any such action constitutes a breach and triggering immediate review, suspension, and possible termination of contract. He paused. Then, without changing his tone, he added, You screamed at our engineer over a child's graduation? The room went still. Even Colby stopped tapping his pen. Holder didn't raise his voice, didn't sigh, didn't even blink. He just said the line, This contract is hereby suspended, pending termination. Then silence. Colby opened his mouth, probably had some monologue prepared, some spin about misunderstandings or team dynamics. But no one was listening. The screen went dark. Call ended. That's the thing about the federal government. When they decide to cut ties, they don't argue. They don't escalate. They execute protocol. And if you happen to delete your lead engineer from the roster without so much as a CC to your point of contact, they don't send a warning. They send the clause you broke and a cancellation. The aftershock hit hard. By 11 a.m., 2 more meetings were scheduled. One with the company's insurance carrier, the other with the subcontractor coordination board. 3 project leads submitted notices of withdrawal. Compliance issued a hold all transfers memo for every component on site. And HR? HR quietly began scanning through my personnel file, desperate to prove I'd quit. That they hadn't let Colby unilaterally fire the one name that couldn't legally be removed without triggering federal withdrawal. But they found no letter, no email, no form, only silence. Because silence wasn't weakness, it was the contract they never bothered to read. And now it was doing all the talking. It didn't take long for the rumors to start, and once they did, Colby couldn't control the bleed. First came the badge color changes. By Saturday morning, the subcontractor teams from SpectraCore, Helix, and Narvotech were locked out of the East Wing. Their badges turned red, not just internally, but on the department's master access registry. No swipe, no entry, no exceptions. Then came the withdrawals. One after another. Cress Engineering submitted an official contract pause citing security ambiguity and protocol risk. 2 hours later, Verticor canceled their next 3 component shipments, citing logistical misalignment. Internally, everyone knew what that meant. The prime defense contract was dead, and no one wanted to get dragged into the crater. Then Ryan left. Ryan, the only other engineer with enough time in the system to understand the original diagnostics framework, handed in his badge without even clearing his inbox. said he'd heard something and was moving on before the lights went out. And then Kim followed, senior QA specialist, 12 years in. She didn't give a reason, just boxed up her test bench and left her badge on the dock, along with a sticky note that read, "Should have listened to Meredith." Meredith, for her part, stopped attending morning calls. Word around compliance was she'd hired counsel. By Monday, half the ops floor was ghosted. Security audits were stacking. And Colby was unraveling. He stormed through hallways demanding updates, throwing around phrases like narrative control and retention bonuses. Nobody looked him in the eye anymore. Then the press release hit. Not from us. From ArcLight Dynamics, a company barely anyone in the plant had heard of before that week. A boutique defense systems integrator, niche, quiet, and surgically competent. The kind of firm you only knew about if you were already under NDA. They didn't announce the contract. They didn't have to. They just updated their website with a new leadership page. Right there, top row, dead center, my photo. Gabriel Hart, lead technical advisor, clearance level alpha. No quote, no announcement, just the facts. The rest spread like gasoline on tile. People whispered, "She planned this. She was already gone. She knew the clause. She was the clause." No one saw me. I didn't give interviews, didn't update LinkedIn, didn't even walk past the old plant. But my name was moving faster than Colby's damage control could catch. Procurement contacts started returning Arcalight's calls faster than ours. Internal chat logs got real quiet. Someone said the CFO had a closed-door meeting with legal and didn't come out for 3 hours. And then someone noticed something else. The name ArcLight Dynamics had been added to the department's active contractor list 3 weeks before Colby fired me. 3 weeks. Nobody said it out loud. But the question lingered in every hallway, every skipped meeting, every badge turned red. Did she know this was coming? Or worse, did she build it to happen this way? Either way, I wasn't at the plant anymore. But the consequences were. They didn't send an email. They didn't call ahead. The department doesn't ask for meetings when you break a personnel clause that governs national defense systems. They just show up. It was 8:03 a.m. Tuesday when a black SUV rolled into the east lot. No sirens, no spectacle. Just a man in a gray suit with a badge that didn't flash. It radiated. He asked for the founder. Not Colby. The founder. Richard Renshaw, the man who built the company from a 6-person precision welding shop into a federal defense contractor over 3 decades. Hadn't been seen on the floor in months, not since he transitioned day-to-day operations to his son. Word was, he spent his mornings at the country club and his afternoons in that glass corner office overlooking the shipping dock, watching everything and saying nothing. But when the man from the Department of Tactical Systems handed his assistant a folder and said, "Immediate delivery, this signature is required," the silence broke. 15 minutes later, Richard appeared. No tie, no smile, just eyes that looked like they already knew. The federal rep didn't introduce himself with pleasantries. He didn't shake hands, just opened the folder and turned it to face the founder. Top page, disqualification of vendor, breach of personnel. Clause 7C, there was no room for argument. No checklist to appeal. The form itself was the judgment. All current contracts suspended. All manufacturing operations involving classified or restricted components are to halt immediately. Do not attempt bypass or reassignment. Enforcement agents are en route to oversee deactivation. No drama, no raised voices, just the thump of authority being executed. Operations froze. Literally. Machines paused mid-cycle. The automated line stopped between parts. The QA system triggered a cascading hold. Internal comms locked, external lines were rerouted. Colby came storming down from the mezzanine, half-buttoned shirt, yelling something about misunderstandings and legal overreach. He didn't get far. 2 federal observers stepped in front of him before he could reach the floor manager. One of them held up a small black device. The plant badge reader blinked red, then shut off. Colby's access had been disabled. "You'll need to leave the active area, sir. But you're no longer authorized to speak on behalf of this vendor." They escorted him out the side gate, not in cuffs, just in silence. The employees who watched didn't cheer, didn't gasp. They just stood there, half in uniforms, half in disbelief, as the systems they'd worked on for years went dark, one by one. Not because of sabotage, not because of hacking, but because one man thought, "You're not essential," was just a casual insult and not a loaded gun pointed at his own contract. Richard Renshaw didn't say a word. Not when Colby got escorted out. Not when legal tried whispering in his ear. Not when the printer in the main office started spitting out withdrawal notices from 4 different subcontractors. He just held the form in both hands and stared. Like a man holding a tombstone, he chiseled himself. There was no headline, no interview, no podium. Just a quiet update on ArcLight's website under Personnel Announcements, nestled between a procurement summary and a defense compliance checklist. It said, Gabriel Hart appointed to lead continuity strategy on Project Osprey. No photo, no quote, no fanfare. I read it over coffee, same mug I'd used since my 2nd year on night shift. The one with the faded "World's Okayest Mom" decal my daughter bought at a gas station gift rack. She smiled when she saw the screen and said, "Guess they figured out who really ran that place." I didn't answer. Just tapped the side of the mug and kept reading. Back at the old plant, things didn't go quiet. They went hollow. The sign that used to hang above the loading dock, Renshaw Systems, Precision, You Can Trust, came down 2 weeks after the shutdown. No ceremony. Just 2 maintenance guys in silence, scraping it off while contractors dismantled the node bays behind them. The security gate got padlocked. Federal vehicles came and went. No employees were allowed back inside, not even to grab personal effects without supervised entry. One local reporter caught wind of it all. He showed up at the town hall meeting asking why a federal defense contract worth nearly $118 million had been terminated so abruptly. Why a company that once boasted a 22-year record had its certifications revoked in under 72 hours. He asked the agency spokesperson directly, "What caused this?" She didn't blink. "We do not tolerate retaliation against engineers who support their families." That was it. No further comment, no legal rebuttal, no press counter-narrative from the Renshaws, nothing to spin. The clause spoke louder than anyone could. I didn't respond to the messages I got from old co-workers. Not the ones who left, not the ones who stayed. I didn't need to explain. The truth was already filed, in timestamps, in security logs, in the calm unraveling of a system built too tightly to survive arrogance. I wasn't trying to ruin them. I was just trying to be a mother. All I'd wanted was 4 hours to watch my daughter cross a stage. They took that ask, wrapped it in ego, and threw it off a cliff. All I did was let gravity do the rest.